America's transportation infrastructure is a modern engineering marvel, just for its ridiculous scope. The interstate highway system by itself costs $425 billion, and the entire network currently spans over 4 million miles, the largest on the planet. Unfortunately, while it is pretty nice that we have all this infrastructure, it would be even nicer if we were able to keep it. And America's really been dropping the ball on this one. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, 1/3 of America's roads are currently in poor or mediocre condition. That's over 1.3 million miles of unsafe roadways. In fact, almost half, 47%, of urban vehicle miles traveled are on deficient roads. Not only does this lead to an average of 38 annual hours stuck in traffic, but our roadways actually end up costing motorists $67 billion annually, or $304 per person. So clearly, this is a costly problem. How have we let our roads deteriorate to this level? The answer is money. Experts say it'll cost $101 billion annually just to maintain our roads at their current condition, and $170 billion annually to actually improve our roads. However, federal, state, and local governments are only spending $91 billion a year, meaning that not only are our roadways not improving, they're actually getting worse. This of course prompts the question, why don't we just spend a bit more money? It'll fix up the situation nicely. The problem though is that we don't have any more money to spend. This is because a huge portion of the money that's supposed to fund our roads comes from this thing called the Highway Trust Fund. It's a federal agency that's been around since 1956, whose sole purpose is to collect money to build and repair roads. Unfortunately, while it would be nice to imagine that the fund could just decide to start doubling its expenditures, the truth is that it's barely staying afloat. When we take into account the rising costs of building and maintaining more and more roads, we find that the Highway Trust Fund has had to spend more money than it earns for years, which is not exactly a sustainable business model. It even had to borrow $2.5 billion earlier this year just to remain solvent. But this boost was not even close to a permanent solution. With a little bit of math, we see that the Highway Trust Fund is actually due to run out of money in less than 1 month. And we can't let that happen. If the Highway Trust Fund runs out of money, not only do our roads have no chance of improving, but our economy would suffer a huge blow. 877,000 people would lose their jobs, our exports would drop by $28 billion, and America's GDP would fall by a whole $897 billion. Taking money from the general fund is not a sustainable route. What we need is a long-lasting solution. Luckily, one already exists: raising the fuel tax. You see, Highway Trust Fund gets 99% of its money from the federal gasoline tax. While this seems fine at first, a serious issue arises when you realize that it's a flat tax that hasn't been changed since 1993. Natural factors such as inflation mean that these 18.4 cents have been steadily losing buying power. So the Highway Trust Fund's current system of generating revenue is 20 years out of date. Raising the tax will allow us to properly fund our roads. Yes, it would require an investment on the part of the motorists, but not doing so would cost even more. The clock is ticking. We can do this. We can fix our transportation infrastructure. We just have to make the first step. And after all, the journey of 1.3 million miles begins with a single step.